Hello everybody, it is Miss Bloom and it is time for our last day of our water tolerance experiment observations. And so here we go. And again, we started with our seeds, corn, radish, and pea and barley. We planted them in a certain location in the planter so that we would be able to find them later. 3 seeds each in this pattern. And we were studying water tolerance, and what that means is we had different amounts of water in each container. So when we started out, for example, I put 120 milliliters of water in here in addition to the soil. In the very wet container, I added 80 milliliters of water. The dry soil was just dry soil, no water. The wet soil, I added 40 milliliters of water in with the moist soil. And then the moist soil, we just kept it as moist soil and didn't add any more water. So with that said, we have our observation 1, our 9 days after planting. We have a 12 days after planting. And today it is, for me, the 15th. So that means it is 13, 14. Oh, 15 days after planting, I think. Is that right? No way. Huh. Okay. So it is the 15th day. There we go. And we're ready. So again, we have the dry environment, moist. Then there is wet, right? Wet soil. And then very wet soil and swampy soil. And I feel like I'm missing something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I guess that's it. All right. So again, normally if we were in class, I would have like you work with your group, and then I'd do something like if you were like the greens, I'd have like the greens and oranges focus on corn, and if you're like the blue of your group or the purple, I'd make you be in charge of barley, and if you were like the yellow in your group, I'd make you be in charge of the pea, or like the reds or something. They would be in charge of the radishes, but because we're not sitting at our tables and we're kind of all over, I'm sharing the experiment with you. So now I'm just taking the results for everything, and it just looks like a ridiculous mess. So we'll keep going in the order that we've been going in. And so it looks like we started with corn first. And so we'll just get going with it and just do all the corns. So again, to find the corn, always looking back at our notebook and our data, the corn's going to be here on the right side. And so for corn in dry, 0 plants. For moist, corn would be right here, 0 plants. For wet soil, corn would be here, so 0 points. 0 plants. For very wet soil, corn would be here, 0 plants. And for swamp, corn would be there, so 0 plants. And here we go. Doo-doo-doo. And the next one is, we did this, purple is radish. And then again, the radish is going to be on the bottom. So here we go. Again, with dry, radish would be right here. So nothing. And then for moist soil, radish, I got 1, 2 radish plants right here. So there we go. For wet soil, I have 1, 2, and a sad little third plant that looks like it's about to pop out of the soil there. So that's 3. For very wet soil, I have this little radish plant that's hanging out with the pea plants over there. So I got 2. And then in swampy soil, I have 1 radish plant standing up all nice, and one's kind of leaning over and falling, for a total of 2 plants. And then the next one is we do that light blue. Light blue is pea. So the pea plants are going to be in the left-hand side of the containers, and we'll mark it in the color that we've been marking it in. And that is this light blue. You can be using your pencil at home, whatever works for you. Dry soil, no pea plants. And moist soil, we got 2 pea plants right here. And for wet soil, I got 2 pea plants here and a delightful amount of yuccadoodle mold over there. Yuccadoodle is not a scientific term. All right, that was more of an opinion word. Okay, and then, so that was the wet soil. Very wet soil, 1, 2, 3 pea plants. And so 3. And then in swamp, I've got 1, 2, 3 pea plants as well. And I should have been measuring height before. Well, that's what happens when you're rushing through and looking at your results. Okay, well then we'll have to go back and do it. So, next is the barley. Barley, of course, will be where we said it would be. Right up here at the top is where we should look. And so we would be looking right around here. No plants. And in the moist soil, again, at the top, no plants. For the wet soil, at the top, no plants. For the very wet soil, again, it would be at the top and no plants. And in the swamp soil, it would be at the top over here, no plants. And there we go. So back to recording the height of the tallest plant. And so with this, right, it's not applicable. We can't collect these data, because there's just nothing to measure. So this is kind of just not applicable to what we're doing here. And then for the radish, we'll go back and take a look. So 0 on dry, which means it's not applicable there. But there are 2 radish plants in moist soil. And so we have to find the height of the tallest plant. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, look at this. Isn't this nice how I'm looking at it again? There's actually 3 little plants. Look at that. I didn't even notice that the first time. You got 1 here, 1 there, but then this one's kind of leaning over. So it's actually like 3 different 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's neat. Okay, look at that. Well, that's why you should look carefully and not rush. Okay, so I have my tallest plant here. Of course, I am measuring in centimeters. That is about 11 centimeters. And I am going to write centimeters right here, because that'll tell me any number in this column will be in centimeters. When I use the units at the top of the table, that lets me know that all the numbers in that table are following those units. So I'm going to write the units, because it could be inches, it could be something, who knows. But in science, we use the metric system, so we use centimeters, kilometers, liters, all those kinds of things. And then for wet soil, we have 3 plants, and the tallest plant is, let's see, I think it might be this one right here. And we're looking at about 12 centimeters. And for very wet soil right here, it is, let's see, that one right there is about 10 centimeters. And for swampy soil, our little radish plant, hello, tangle, 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 tangle. Okay, there we go. And it's about 11 centimeters. There we go. All right, 11 centimeters. There we go. Okay. Back to height on whatever this light blue thing is. Again, I'm looking and always double checking. Light blue is pea, so I know I need to look at the pea plants, and I know that the pea plants were planted here on the left, so that's where I'm going to look when I'm collecting my data. And so for dry, no plants. So this right here is not applicable. In moist soil, we did have some plants. And so the height of the tallest plant is going to be about 14 centimeters. And in wet soil, the height of the tallest plant will be about 22.5 centimeters. I don't know, have you guys done decimals yet? Do you know about decimals? Hopefully you know about decimals. If not, we'll figure it out. Very wet soil, height of the tallest pea plant. Again, the map says that they're over here, and so that's where I'm looking. Also, I've done this a lot of times. I know what a little pea plant looks like, but that's kind of why you need to do your map accurately. That's why I planted it like super accurately, as accurately as I could. And this one is about 21.5 centimeters. And last but not least, swamp. And let's see, the tallest plant. Oh no. Oops. Uh-oh, do you see that? Ooh. Uh-oh. And that is about 25 centimeters. Whew. All right. And here we go. For the last one, this blue. The blue is barley. Barley has been planted in the top quadrant there. However, no plants have come up, so we have more kind of not applicable data to collect. Okay, so time to continue here, and the fun thing about this is because it's such a small paper, they have this bit of the table like should be continued that way, but it's not. And so really what we're looking for is dry, moist, wet, very wet. And so for the most leaves on one plant, what that means is, well, first, like, we'll start with whatever the green is, and green is corn. And of course, this is not applicable, this is not applicable, this is not applicable, none of this is applicable. And so let's finish that up, because there we go. And then finally, here is something we can use. Okay. So, the most leaves on one plant for purple, which is the radish, and radish is at the bottom. So for most leaves on one plant in dry soil, not applicable because there are no plants. But in moist soil, you have 2 leaves. Well, I don't know. Here, do you want to take a look at this? It's hard to see. Sorry. My lighting's bad. But here, there kind of looks like there is a little bit of a leaf coming in. So maybe should we call that a let's call that a third leaf. And then again, length of the longest leaf, since there's no leaf, then that's not applicable. Now, again, not applicable. Okay, but here in moist, you see length of the longest leaf? And here's where we start getting a little bit ridiculous. So like the longest leaf, I don't know, I think maybe that one. It's about 1 centimeter. Let's see. Yeah, 1 centimeter. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write centimeters up here so that you know that any number written in this column is going to be in centimeters. It saves me from having to write like 1 centimeter, blah, 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 blah. I can just write the number and it just saves space because this is such a small place to write 4 bits of data. Now for the moist soil, oh yeah, the longest leaf, oh my bad, 1 centimeter here. And then here, hello, centimeters. Here's the length of the roots, and this is where things get kind of a little bit sad. So we have this plant. Oh dear. And we have the root that goes down to here. I know. So fun fact, today is the last day of this experiment because there we go. And it's about 9 centimeters. So the length of the longest root in moist soil here is 9 centimeters. Yeah, I just grabbed the other plant. Yeah, so that's longer than that. All right, so there we go. I'm putting that aside. Okay, so then in wet soil, so again in wet soil, the most leaves on one plant, I'm looking, and it didn't have one of those little kind of baby leaves. So the most leaves on one plant is just 2. And then kind of the longest leaf, this one maybe seems like the biggest one. And maybe that one's like, it's about 1 centimeter also. All right, 1 centimeter. And then here, let's take a look at the roots. Uh-oh. Oh dear, people. We have a bit of a problem. Hold on. Okay, so the problem is that I was pulling on the plant to get it out, and the roots are all up in here. And now, like, there's like all this root stuff. Let me see if, well, look at that. This is weird. Okay, so we got these yuccadoodle little nothing roots. Again, yuccadoodle is not a scientific word, okay? We got about 2.5 centimeter long roots, which is right here. And then I'll put this aside. And then in very wet, I have that one plant here. And so I'm going to just loosen up the soil a bit. All right, here we go. There we go. Hey, look at that. Huh. Look at that. That is about also maybe a 2 centimeter long root. And then the leaves, well, that's a leaf, is just those 2 leaves on that plant. And then the length, oh, wait a second. Derpader, look at that. This one always hides from me. It's always leaning towards the pea plant. Okay, hold on, people. Hold on. There we go. All right. Okay. Let's see. This root. Ooh, okay, that one's 3 centimeters. Okay, so 3 centimeters in very wet soil. And then look, it has this big ol' honkin' leaf here. Let's take a look. Come here, leafy, leafy. About 1.5 centimeters. There we go. Okay, so back to our work. The next color we've been using was this light blue, which is the pea color. Pea plants are going to be on the far right. And so we start with dry, and there are no leaves on it. There is no length of a leaf to measure, and there is no root to measure. For moist soil, we have, let's see, the leaves here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves. The length of the longest leaf, let's see, I got one, we got, ooh, look, there's a little leaf on over there. Okay, so then there's 7 leaves, and 1 centimeter is the length of the longest leaf. And let's take a look. Oh, look at that. Okay. Look at that root system. See? Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm loosening up the soil. It's never ending. Oh my gosh. It's just... Oh my gosh. Okay, I don't even think my ruler's that big. Check that out, baby. Woo! Nature. Science. Okay. I mean, look at that. Isn't that cool? Here. Look, you can see where the root came out of the pea seed. And then the stem came up. Isn't that so cool? Science is so cool, everybody. So neat. Look at that. Would you ever have guessed that the root was that long? Isn't that cool? Okay, so let's stretch this puppy out. And we got, let's see, about 28 centimeter long root. How ridiculous is that? Woo! Holy mackerel. Look at that. Wowzers. Okay. And then in the wet soil, I got my pea plants here, and I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 leaves look like the most. And then my biggest leaf, my longest leaf is, let's see, that one is 2 centimeters long. That one, yeah, so the longest leaf is 2 centimeters long. And here we go for the roots. Do you think the roots are going to be longer or shorter than the moist soil? Let's dig these roots up and mix everything up. Ew, there's that yucky mold. You know that if you did this to use this with one of my pencils in class, you know, I'd get really mad, huh? Is that what you're thinking? If it was one of my pencils from the science room? Could you imagine me, like, yelling at you if you, like, just used one of my pencils to do this? All right. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so that's one. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. And our winner is this one. So let's take a look. Its root is, woo, look at that. The root is about 19.5 centimeters. All right. There we go. Let's keep going. Okay. There we go. And for very wet, we have these 3 plants here. I'm going to take a look at leaves. I think this guy's the winner. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 12, 13. Yeah, so 13 is what this plant has. Its biggest leaf is Hello Metric System. It's about 1.5 centimeters long. So 1.5. Oops, I didn't need to write 2 right there. And then roots. So here's my pencil. And let's get these roots loosened up. All right. Oh dear, this is going to be complicated because they're all kind of here. Did you see how I have this water here? There, that makes that better. And then kind of rinse off the soil. There we go. All right. So that's from before. Okay, so there we go. That goes there. Now we have 3 roots to measure. The longest root is this one. And let's go. So right here. And it is about 16.5 centimeters. Whew. All right. There we go. And last but not least, we have this blue. The blue was the barley. Barley will be at the very top. Unfortunately, we had no barley plants, so we don't have any data for any of these. So we just have to write like not applicable because there's no data to collect, unfortunately. So this is kind of all we can do. I mean, that's all we can do. So there you go. All right, so your last bit of thought today for this is part 4 here that says use the table to determine the range of tolerance. Label the columns. So 1 will stand for dry, 1 moist soil, wet soil, very wet soil. And then mark an X where each plant grew. So for example, did a pea plant grow in the dry soil? No. So we're not going to put an X there. What about the moist soil? Did a pea plant grow in the moist soil? Pea plant is in light blue, so we can put an X there because it grew. So what you're going to do is you're going to finish this, and that's what part of what I'll take a look at when you send me a picture of your work. Is your job is to do this on your own. And that's it for today. Thank you.